viewers, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's bring in our panel, Dr. Omékongo Dibinga, Senior Professorial Lecturer, School of International Service at American University, coming to us out of D.C. Well, Omékongo, again, this is not just, frankly, young voters. I was in line with a woman who was 54 years old, and she said, to be honest, I didn't really pay attention to politics until Trump came along. And she said, my mom died early. It really wasn't my thing. As I was telling her, I said, listen, I said, my parents have been working elections as long as you've been alive. And so we have that. But yeah, I just think that we have to have a massive voter education, civics campaign in our community after this election to understand that there are elections every single year. It's not just one. We got to be in the game in every single one of these elections.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to what we do here at the Black Star Network, Roland, because you've always made this a priority. When it's not an election, when it's not a midterms, you're consistently talking about this. And shout out to Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright and so many people who are just out there doing this work every single day. My hope is, when I'm seeing on these college campuses as well, is that this new generation of, when I say new generation of people like my daughters voting for the presidency for the first time, I feel like with somebody like Vice President Harris on the ticket, the way that people are getting engaged, I do believe that this could be an election where we can actually start, especially if she wins, we can actually start turning the tide as it relates to staying consistent, staying engaged, understanding that it's not just about voting for president. You got to show up at every level, like with all of the guests that you had in the first part of this show. And we have to do this. And because what you said, Roland, in your segment, in your interviews earlier, when you said that they're voter suppressed states, people really need to understand that like to the woman who put their chest out in front of Dr. Malveaux, that people are actively working to make us not vote, to make us not see the interest in voting, to make us not understand our power in voting. They're targeting us with all of these ads because they understand our power. And at some point, we got to understand our power too. Like you said, the 54-year-old lady you talked to, the older people. And so when you're out there in line, Roland, that stuff's getting the replays on YouTube. You talk to those two brothers who are talking about being girl dads like myself, also have a son but two daughters as well. They speak for me as well. And so the more we keep telling these stories, the more we keep showing people showing up, the way people like you and others are going at celebrities who are, challenging people like Lord Jamar and people who are saying ignorant stuff. This is the time to not only stand up now, but to put something in place that's really going to have a new level of activism going forward. Because I think with Dobbs, with Trump and what's going on, people are finally starting to understand that they have to show up every time, or we're going to just keep losing.